Eagles fans, this is Mike Kaye from NJ Advanced Media, and welcome to the No Huddle Show podcast, where we discuss anything and everything Philadelphia Eagles, especially when the Eagles trade back in the first round of the NFL draft, even before the first overall pick is turned in. Whoa! So this has been a day. This is an emergency podcast, and as you know, if you subscribe to Eagles Extra via NJ.com/text, the Eagles made a blockbuster trade on Friday, trading the number 6 overall pick and the number 56 overall pick, that's a 5th round pick if you're playing at home, to the Miami Dolphins for the 12th overall pick and the 123rd overall pick, that's a 4th round pick. The Eagles now have a 4th round pick. You don't have to be angry at Jannard Avery anymore. And most importantly, a 2022 first round pick. So the Eagles are guaranteed to have 2 first round picks in 2022, along with a conditional 2nd round pick that can become a 3rd first round pick for the Colts if Carson Wentz plays 70% of the snaps or 75% of the snaps for the Colts on offense this year, or the Colts make the playoffs and stuff. Very likely conditions for the Colts. Either way, they're going to have 4 premium picks in 2022, which I wrote a bonanza of articles about on NJ.com/Eagles, which you can check out now. The reasoning behind the trade, their current bushel of picks in 2021, etc. But this ain't just all about this draft. It's not all about 2022. It's not all about all the great features and articles and information on NJ.com/Eagles, a wonderful website. It's also about a discussion between myself and fellow beat reporter Chris Franklin. Chris, how you doing today?
Not bad. That was one of the best segues I've ever had. I appreciate that. Well, thank you very much, man. I can tell you this is never a dull moment covering this team. I mean, you go through, it's a beautiful day. It's warm, 8 degrees. I'm doing some work. You're doing some work. And all of a sudden, bomb drop. This is interesting. How you doing, man?
Well, I've been working. Let's just get into this. Let's forget about the pleasantries, right? Let's forget the small talk. You know what I mean? Let's just get into this. Okay. So again, the Eagles trade the 6th overall pick and the 156th overall pick to the Miami Dolphins for the 12th overall pick, the 123rd overall pick, and a 2022 first round pick. Now, you might be at home asking yourself, how did the Dolphins get the 12th overall pick? Weren't they picking number 3 overall? Well, not anymore, because the San Francisco 49ers made a deal today trading their 12th overall pick, a 3rd round pick, and then 2022 and 2023 first round picks to the Dolphins for that 3rd overall pick so they can draft a quarterback. Wow. If that wasn't crazy, then you got the Eagles announcing this trade. The Eagles reportedly were interested in trading up to the 3rd overall pick because they liked Zach Wilson. That didn't work out. I think the Jets are going to take him at number 2 anyway. I think the 49ers will pick between Trey Lance and Justin Fields. As of now, the Eagles are out of the quarterback situation, in my opinion. Jalen Hurts is probably going to be the guy. You and I were both in favor of that. I think they made the absolute best decision for them. And I have a ton of reasons why. We'll get into that. But first of all, you're a quarterback. You're a former quarterback. I'm just a guy with a squeaky voice and a lot of information.
Jeez.
But I think we can both agree that if they couldn't land, quote unquote, their guy, they made the right move by not forcing a quarterback in this draft, correct?
Yes and no. And I'm hedging on this because I have no problem with them trading back at all. And if I'm a quarterback like Jalen Hurts, I see the possibility of having Jamar Chase, and I see the possibility of having Kyle Pitts. I think, or even Devonta Smith.
But we're not talking about that. We're talking about. I agree. We're not talking about like the dynamics of the pick. I'm talking about not forcing a quarterback.
You definitely don't want to force a quarterback, 'cause especially in a system. Because I think there's a lot of, when it comes to not just talent, but intangibles. I think that's an important piece of it. And looking at the guys that are here, besides Trevor Lawrence, I really have a lot of questions about everybody else. And I mean, personally, I don't get the Zach Wilson stuff, but everybody loves him. But I don't blame the Eagles for not forcing themselves to try to take, just because they had to feel like they had to get a quarterback. It's, if they didn't see the guy, if they knew they weren't getting the guy that was going to be the right fit for them, the guy who was supposed to be the quarterback for the next 10 plus years and be the guy, the face of the franchise, then no problem. Trade back, see what you can get. I think they traded back too far, and it might cost them later on.
You think they traded back too far? Okay, so let's break into that. So I see a lot of folks reacting like, "Oh my gosh, Kyle Pitts," or "Oh my gosh, Jamar Chase," and I totally get that. And you brought them up earlier before I cut you off, and I didn't mean to be rude there, but I just wanted to talk specifically in the realm of quarterback there. So now I'm going to give you the open floor for the position players, but let's think about this too, right? 2021 is an incomplete draft process. There was no combine. A lot of notable players, including Jamar Chase, did not play last year. There's also, I mean, like the lack of combine for character and injury sake is really important. Scouts have not been able to get on campuses for months. I wrote it's a minefield for mistakes. Yes, Kyle Pitts very very good. Uh, Jamar Chase very very good. There's no guarantee that both those guys will be there. There's no guarantee, that one of those guys is exactly what you need, or that they love those guys as much as we do. Correct. So I think when you look at that dynamic, being able to get a 2022 first round pick when the process will hopefully be a lot more complete and you can make better decisions is a big deal. Also, I don't think the Dolphins are going to be very good next year for what it's worth. So tell me why you think they traded back too far.
Well, I think when you look at, I still think that even if they did a deal like this on draft night, I think it would have been more palatable. But I still think I think they could have gotten more if they waited the night of the draft. And if it didn't work out, they still could have gotten one of the two. I look at the needs of this team right now, and if they really feel like they want to go ahead and build something, and build something around Hurts, even though it looks like they were going for Wilson, but if he's 1A, then you need to go ahead and just get the best players available. And if basically you're dropping back 6 spots, you now are behind two of your division rivals who may get the cornerback that they covet if they're looking at Patrick Surtain. They may grab him because the Cowboys have a need at cornerback. And I'm not so completely sold on the fact that the Giants wouldn't take Waddle. I mean, I know they just signed Galladay and they put a lot to that offense, but to have a young wide receiver with that talent, I'm not so sold that they would completely pass up on him. So now not only did you lose out on two players who could potentially be franchise changing, possible multi Pro Bowl guys in Pitts and Chase, you now put yourself back into a second tier now where you may not be able to get Surtain and you may not be able to get Waddle. And I know Farley's name's been popped up, but his back injury, I put that red tag or the medical tag on him, because that has a lot of work. Because he just had another back surgery to clean some stuff up in there with, and so I'm really really skeptical about this. And sure, you get all the picks next year, and unless they're using those picks to go ahead and get a top tier guy like Watson or Russell Wilson, if he decided he ever wanted to add the Eagles to his list of teams he wanted to go to, it's just too many question marks with this.
What if they really like JC Horn? What if they really like the pass rusher from Georgia, who I'll completely just butcher his name? What if they want Micah Parsons? What if they want that three-named dude from Notre Dame, the linebacker? Well, like, what? No, but here's the thing, and here I wrote this. The top 10 skews very hard offensively, and the Eagles traded back to 12, where it skewed, the middle of the first round really skews defensively based on what we know and talent wise. And I'm just telling you, with 4 quarterbacks selected in the top 5, you're going to see some top 10 caliber defensive players fall. Also, something to keep in mind, too, just because the Eagles are set to pick at 12 doesn't mean they can't just trade up to 9 or 8. This actually gives them more flexibility, if you ask me, because they're not going to be handcuffed to a value. They can let the draft play out. We've seen drafts where guys just fall. We saw with CeeDee Lamb. We've seen guys just fall. What happens if Jalen Waddle falls? What happens if they like Devonta Smith and he falls? What if they like, Patrick Surtain and he falls? There's guys that could fall here. And the Eagles can be patient and then bide their time. Oh, and by the way, they're playing with house money right now with those with that extra first round pick next year, which they won't need a touch. On top of that, they have the ammunition to with 4 picks in the top 3 rounds to move up back into the first round if they want to. So it gives them, they still have 11 picks and they can move around the board. Oh, and by the way, with the Colts pick, they can now use that as an asset as well. So who's to say they don't use the Colts pick to move back into the top 5? You know what I mean? So they have, because now they're guaranteed a first round pick next year. So I think the way I look at it, they have a lot of options. This team's not contending right now. It makes sense to buy for the future. If you're Jalen Hurts, you probably love what's happened this week. If you're somebody who wanted a quarterback in the first round, well, here's the thing. The Eagles aren't forcing that pick, and I think that's pretty smart. I think they played this very, very well. I understand people that think that they have put themselves at a disadvantage, but we know the Eagles. Howie Roseman, when he really wants a guy, he'll trade up for him. They're still in position to do that. If, in fact, they're in better position to work around the first round board with that 4th round pick than they were coming into this week. So I think that that's beneficial. I think when you look at, you brought up Russell Wilson and Deshaun Watson, if they're open to being traded to Philadelphia, the Eagles can compete with basically anyone with 4 potential first round picks and a high second round pick in the next 2 years. But I think what's interesting here is we talk about Jalen Hurts. They're essentially preparing for a year of Jalen Hurts while having insurance in case he falls apart or fails. If he does well, then you have 3 really, really strong assets to use next year to fill out the roster around him. This, to me, was always going to be a 3-year rebuild, and they've positioned the second year of this rebuild to really be where they take off and they launch. That's where I'm at with this trade. I think it's good. I think it's good. I see the negatives of not landing a potential generational talent like Kyle Pitts. I see, a lot of the fan base being upset about not having that long-time X receiver that they've been looking for. But realistically, this draft is action-packed with really good immediate upgrade talent at wide receiver. Perhaps they target a guy in the second round. Maybe they trade back in the first round to get somebody like Bateman towards the end. I just think they have a ton of flexibility. So from your standpoint, who are you looking at number 12 now if they had to pick today?
If I had to pick today, I'm still sticking with wide receiver and I'm going Jalen Waddle. I really am. I think that if he's able to fall to them, I think that given that I know he's not the big receiver that everybody likes, then like to replace Alshon Jeffrey, name drop there, just because I just want to go ahead and needle you a little bit. But when it comes to, no, he's gone. But I think he provides another speed element. Especially I think he can still line up anywhere outside or in his slot. I think he's still good, and he also can be a kick returner for you. So you fill 2 spots with that, and we know how much trouble this team has had with an explosive kick returner as well too. So I think Waddle provides that. It possesses the ability to be able to go ahead and be dynamic in that, and I think he can be really good. I know Greg Rousseau from Miami. I think about that, given that. You have uncertainty following after this year with Barnett. I think you have to think long and hard about that. I just think Surtain's going to be off the board. I just think by that. J.C. Horn, I know, is going to be it's tough. He's risen the boards very lately, especially last couple months. But I still have my own questions about him as well too. And Caleb Farley, as we mentioned earlier, with the back issue. So, given all the players that were there available, I really think Jalen Waddle will be there. Who are you taking?
I'm taking Horn. I look 6 foot, 200 pounds, really good size. Had a great pro day. I think he's perfect for what they want. I think he's the perfect partner for Darius Slay and his eventual heir apparent. I like his ties to the league. Obviously, Joe Horn's son. I like the way he's physical against the run as well. I like that he's a good blitzer. Um, Russo, I would guess that they don't look at him for a couple of reasons. One, like I said, didn't play it like with guys that have incomplete evaluations. That's why you make this trade for a 2022 first round pick. You want guys that you have a full picture on, and Russo's played one season. I mean, he had an incredible season in his first year of playing time at Miami, but realistically, he's played one full season. So that would be my concern there. I could see them really being into the Georgia kid. I completely butcher his name every time I say it. But look, and maybe they look at another offensive lineman. I think another benefit of doing this is it gives you some different opportunities with the timeline of a Derek Barnett potential trade or a Zach Ertz potential trade. Like with Ertz, now you can say, look, we'll take a 2022 third or fourth round pick and get this deal done, as opposed to forcing a deal this year. I think the same can be said for Barnett. So you extend their value beyond the initial deal. So that's where I'm at. But, in your final thoughts, Chris, tell me, how are you feeling about this overall offseason, the way it's gone so far?
I mean, given that the way that everything's played out, I think they did okay. I give them, if I had to grade it, I give it a C, because I think given that they had to move on from Wentz and they got back what they got from him, okay. Given that they have 11 draft picks, so I think was it 12, 11, 12, around there. I'll say they have multiple draft picks right now. They have the ability to move up and down the board if they need to. I like that ability, but all roads lead back to Howie Roseman and that front office and the scouting staff. And if they do not hit on at least more, if they don't hit it on more than half of these picks, they're in serious trouble, because it doesn't matter how many picks you accumulate. If you can't pick the right talent to go ahead and be on this team for the next 5-6 years, well, I mean, what are you doing all this for? So they're going to have to pinpoint their guys now. It's no excuse to go ahead and say, okay, you know what? We had all these veteran players. You got rid of a lot of them. So they have to use this year to go ahead and evaluate. They have to go in and find the right guys, and for their sakes, and probably for Howie's jobs prospects, he's going to have to do a good job come the draft.
Well, this gives him actually a lot more flexibility. I can't imagine he's going to allow somebody else to spend those picks, or Jeffrey Lurie for that matter, before signing off on this. You can make sure, you sign up for Eagles Extra on NJ.com/text. We just did our exclusive Q&A today. It was a fun time, but make sure you sign up for that. And then also, make sure you download the No Huddle Show podcast wherever you download podcasts. For Chris, I'm Mike. Thanks for joining us on this emergency episode, trade edition of the No Huddle Show podcast. Have a great weekend.